Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our weekly Developer Dynasty for Draft Day Sports Pro Football 2021. We are very excited to show off the latest work we've done this week. And as always, joining me is our lead developer, Brooks. Brooks, say hello to your millions and millions of fans.
Hello, everybody.
We have a lot to get to this week, but before we do, I want to thank, as always, our followers and everybody who has subscribed to the channel. If you haven't subscribed or don't know how, you can have a free subscription for every month. You have to keep renewing it if you do this through Amazon. But if you have Amazon Prime, you can have a Twitch Prime account and you can get a free sub that way. Or if you have the ability to pay for a monthly subscription, that goes to support the company. So we certainly appreciate those things. And to show our appreciation for our followers and subscribers, we talked about once we hit the 200 follower mark that we were going to do some sort of giveaway. So we've hit the 200 follower mark. We are at 210 as of right now. So that's huge for us in a very short period of time. Thank you everybody for that. So we're actually going to do 2 drawings next week. So that way, if people are watching this stream afterwards, or catching it on YouTube later, they have a chance to follow. One will be for our followers and one for the subscribers. We'll just do a random drawing from each group there, and the winner will be able to choose any of our current 2020 titles or Draft Day Sports Pro Golf if they want. So if you happen to win and have all the games, you can choose one and gift it to a friend. If you happen to win and don't have one of those games, you can try out a brand new game. So we're really excited about that. We will do that drawing next week for the stream. We won't have to be present at a stream to win, but we will announce the winners probably at the Tuesday night stream for Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 2021, and we'll put the word out on social and stuff like that. So let's get into it. We've had a really good week of development as we inch closer to First Access, which, if you're not aware of First Access, it is our sort of open beta period when you are able to pre-order the game and get a discount for doing so and get your hands on the beta. Before anybody starts asking questions in the chat what that date is, we don't have it yet, but we're getting close, and the second that we have it, you will be the first to know. We definitely cannot wait to get this into your hands. So a couple of smaller things that were added, and then we'll get to some of the big stuff. One of the additions I like this week is on the finances tab, there is now a salary analysis button. So Brooks, you want to kind of clue everybody into what they can see on the salary analysis here?
Yeah, so the salary analysis basically just does some number crunching for you to give you an idea of what your average salaries are, offense, defense, highest paid players, that kind of thing. Groups it by teams, groups it by positions, groups it by staff as well, so that you're able to just kind of get an idea of how the finances of the league are shaping up and what various expectations of players would be and that kind of thing.
So I think that's a really useful tool, especially for players who are new to the game, that they might not follow pro football super close and more of a casual fan. This will give them kind of an idea of where money will fall by position, so that when they're going to negotiate with their players to do free agency or things like that, this will be a very useful tool for something like that. Let's see, there's a question in the chat box from Breeze837. Breeze, thank you again for showing up. I know you were at the basketball streams. Is there a practice squad where we can put rookies to develop like a G League for the NBA?
Yes, there is. So the way we have the game set up now is you have an active roster, you have a practice squad, which is configurable based on the number of players you want to be able to put on a practice squad. It's available to alter by the commissioner. And we have injured reserve. And the thought was not so much to mirror NFL rules with the way these things work, but more to give teams and leagues the ability to stash players on a practice squad or on a kind of like a G League. It's just a place where you have inactive players that you want to develop that you don't necessarily want on your active roster seeing the field. You may want backup players or fourth quarterbacks or whatever, and you may want to enable those and put them on the practice squad. Unfortunately, it doesn't really, even though it's named the same thing as what you see in the NFL, it's not actually set up the same way as NFL rules would dictate, where the salaries for practice squad players are the exact same as regular players and things like that. Whereas in the NFL, practice squad players have different salary structures. There are different rules about who can claim them and how long they can be on a practice squad and what happens if another team claims one, and sharing practice squads and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't really match the NFL model. It's just more of a way to place a few extra players on the side just for leagues that want to do the NFL style. They certainly can. They would have to do homegrown rules, and commissioners would have to custom move players around to make those work, which some leagues do. But yeah, so it's there. It's just kind of with caveats.
And I think that's a good way of doing it, because I do some of the same things in the basketball game with, whether it comes to something not being as exact as the NBA, but being more gamified, because there's a purpose for it in the game, and it's easier to handle something that way rather than something that's just overly complex and not really necessary. So I think you'll find those type of things in both of our games, but I'm glad that there's an option there, Breeze, for you to be able to have your practice squad there, as you can kind of see as I filter through on the screen here. And one other thing that we talked about last week in the stream was editing. There was a question about editing coaches, and that's absolutely available through their coach card here. And Brooks has added more things to edit. So, Brooks, you want to kind of talk about what they have the extra things to edit now for the coaches?
Yeah, I mean, this is getting to be a little bit of a busy screen. I'm sure we'll revisit this later. But the thought was we're going to allow them to change offensive preferences, defensive preferences. Editing a coach is something that only certain people can do. It's not something you're going to want to open up for like online leagues to be able to go and just change their coach. That kind of defeats the purpose of hiring one. But if you're playing your career league, you're playing sandbox leagues, and you want to set up different coaches and see how their different preferences will affect how they run the game, then absolutely it's available now so that you can change all these things. And once you change them, it'll update the descriptions in their bio on their regular coach page. But I believe this puts everything at the player's hands that they may want to change as far as coaching goes, the attitude and style, all of those things. So that will be there. I know a lot of people have asked for that. They want them in their mods or in their custom leagues. They want to make specific coaches, or specific coaches will, act and behave like real life counterparts and whatnot. They should be able to have some fun with that now.
So hopefully everybody who's put that request in will be satisfied with the ability to edit more information from their players. One other thing from last week's stream that came up was an idea that's being really developed in the pro basketball game, with a link to the college football or the college basketball game, and having a direct link between the two games. You still have to simulate in both games to advance them, but being able to have a lot of data in the pro basketball game from the college league that's linked to it, and just to kind of give you a deeper, more advanced game world, as opposed to just giving you a draft class. So people saw that and they brought that up in the stream, for football here, asking Brooks if he could do something like that. And Brooks, you want to tell them what you've been working on there?
The concept is real similar to what's going on in basketball. As you sim through your college football season, as you save different points of the season, it'll generate a file that then you can link up to your pro file as well. So I haven't tied anything in specifically to stages of the season because our pro season and our college season, with the way we have a game set up, are drastically different. But I will allow you to port in different pieces of information. We've toyed with the idea of keeping standings in there, so you can kind of see how the college teams are going. Probably put the top 25 teams. We'll look at adding some top players and Heisman candidate kind of players so that you could see their stats, and just kind of a way to add a little bit more flavor to those people who are running multiple leagues and want to be able to see a little bit of their college world in their pro game. And the sky's the limit. Importing newspaper articles, importing even play highlights would be something that's certainly available. Pretty much any data that we have in the college game will be there. I stop a little bit short of automating too much stuff, just because I know a lot of people who bring their college players in. The college world with 120 some odd teams and 85 kids on a roster generates massive draft classes. And so we want to be cognizant of that and not just automatically dump all of those in without people having control. So we'll probably leave the draft import functionality as a manual step that people will have to do, but they're already used to that, and it should still work like it does now. But being able to link the data in so you can start seeing a little bit more flavor across the pro game is the goal, and I think we'll be able to satisfy a lot of that.
So I'm really excited to see that come to fruition, so that as we kind of expand our pro game with both versions of the college game to give everybody that deeper experience, and I think it just makes the game feel bigger without without the overwhelmingness of, as Brooks said, there's a lot of players in college football and college basketball, and the vast majority of them you wouldn't typically care about because you'll never see them in the pros. But finding ways to especially highlight the the most important players and give you a league that forms around those players by using our college games rather than just providing you a draft pool and some stats. I think that's going to be a big win for both the pro basketball and pro football games in 2021. I pulled up the 2D screen in case you missed our stream last week, so you can kind of see we've been moving along there. Show off some of the full screen capabilities here, as well as the option to play it not in a full screen. I've been personally working with the UI a lot on these areas. I really like the addition that Brooks has put in this year with the sort of the play-by-play box, I guess you can call it, that that comes up on the screen here and lets you get detailed descriptions about what's actually happening during the play. Unfortunately, we don't have the capabilities to have some kind of fancy, fabulous 3D graphic model down there where you can kind of see who's doing what. So that description box as the plays go along, I think will really be helpful for people in determining not just the end result of the play, but maybe anything important that happened during the play, so that you can kind of get some extra details. For instance, that play that just ran, it said the defender is absolutely pummeled by our tackle Tyrone Thompson. So if you're coaching along, you make a mental note that Thompson's doing a good job for you. We'll have some more details there probably next week. I was working on a couple of other ideas there for the 2D screen. So if you have comments, if you have anything you want to see along those lines on the 2D screen, please either put them here in the chat box, or you can tweet at us or send us a message on Facebook or whatever, and I'll be happy to do what I can in that department. Another thing I've been working on is, again, my only contributions to the football game are the look and feel of it. All the heavy lifting, everything. The genius of the game is Brooks, and he's got help from Asger to mod things and kind of tweak things under the hood. But the look of it is where I try to make my impact. And one of my most favorite things in the pro basketball game is the draft. And it's something that I really wanted to be able to spend more time with in the football game and put my stamp on it and give us that feeling. So we're going to show off the draft screen as a work in process right now. This will be the first look anybody's had at the draft screen. If you're familiar with Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball, the screen will look familiar. And obviously, we have some just placeholder things on the screen. But this is the look of the screen. And I'm really excited to make the draft come alive and feel more alive for people playing the game, giving them a more immersive and interactive experience. So in the pro basketball game, we have the commentators. They have some running commentary during the draft. I'm going to do everything I can to get that same level of depth here in the football game. You'll have all the options to go to the war room and scout your players or make your draft list or make your pick. Offering a trade, being able to pull up the recaps of the draft. Again, some of these screens are not finished or not completely tweaked or things like that, but the concept is here. So I spent a lot of time this past week on the concept here for the draft screen. So I wanted to take a minute to share it with you guys and look for feedback on what you like about it. And things like that, questions you have, things that you'd like to see, anything that you want to see out of the draft experience, because I think in this type of game the draft experience is so important. I mean, we wouldn't have put draft day in the title of our games if the draft didn't matter. The draft means so much in these types of games, so I really want to focus on knocking this out of the park. I want the draft to be a complete and total home run when you get into it, and something that you want to sit there and experience the draft. There's a question from Ben Nisselp. Assume the function of the draft screen is the same so we can export partway through and the HTML updates. I'll hand that one off to Brooks for an answer. Brooks. Maybe Brooks had to step away for a minute.
That was on mute. I knew that was going to happen one of these days. Yeah, the functionality of the screen isn't going to change as far as that goes. You're still able to leave the draft screen to go do whatever commissioner duties you may need to do, check your team out, things like that, and then you can jump back into the draft at any point. So it should be status quo for those of you who are used to the current pro football games.
Right, and that is a difference between the pro basketball game. The pro basketball game, once you start the draft, you have to stay within the draft, and items that you need, the trades, rosters, everything that you need is accessible through there. But it's once it starts, it has to be finished. Brooks has his code set a little bit differently so that you can leave the draft, and there'll be a button up here that lets you leave the draft and come back to it and do what you want. I also added a link here in the draft options box directly to the trade screen so that you wouldn't have to take 2 clicks to go to the trade screen. But everything in terms of functionality, we're not going to take away functionality. We're only going to add things to the draft, to the experience of the draft. And I was really excited to let Brooks get a look at it, and then to be able to share it with everybody here, because I think the draft is for me the most fun part of any of these games. That that's the thing I look forward most to in playing myself, is the draft. So the draft experience is certainly something that's very, very important and top of mind in our design. Um, the use Vanish Something makes the comment that that code would be useful for multiplayer leagues in the pro basketball game. Um, I will take a look at that, but it's just that the game is structured differently. It's coded very differently, so it's not possible right now with the way I have things in the basketball game. But absolutely can do it here in the pro football game. So I was the draft was sort of my big thing today that I was really interested to show off. And I definitely glad we got the opportunity to talk about that link with college football. So, between the draft and the college football link and the 2D screen, those are three big areas for the game here that we're going to be focusing on in the immediate week or so to come. So, if there's something that you want to see there, even if it doesn't come to you right now in the next few minutes, that you can throw in the chat box. If it's something that it hits you tomorrow or whatever, please make sure you reach out and get a hold of us and tell us what you would like to see in those areas, and that that can help guide us as we make our final decisions about those screens and how things are going to work there. There is one other topic that we talked about last week, that people wanting to get involved in helping out with what they can do here. As people asking for more more news articles, more things like that. So Brooks, if people want to help in terms of expanding the stuff like the news in the game, what do they need to do? What do they need to know? Anything type of special file type or anything like that they can help flesh out the game in those areas if they want to.
Sure. The game is structured where a lot of the files where we wanted people to be able to mod their games or drastically change their player universe, or how the different structures and big comment. Those things are all basically set up as either XML files or JSON files or text files. And one of the things that we can do is we can take some of these files and put them up on sharing services where whether it's Google Docs or OneDrive or whatever, where we allow like a collaboration on these documents. We've started that with some of the folks on Slack, where we've exposed these default documents. So if they want to write additional article templates, or they want to work on tweaking the way injuries work, or even if they really wanted to change our first names and last names and things like that, then that would all be something that we would love to get feedback on. The biggest task is by far going to be the roster set that we ship with, and that may be something that is an ongoing work in progress as we deal with COVID and all that stuff, and pro schedules and real life issues that are going on. It may be something that we just constantly update as we go, but definitely we'll have people helping us out with the rosters, and if you have a knack for setting up roster sets and keeping track of transactions and all that, then we'd love to have your assistance.
Yeah,
I'm going to hit a couple of questions here. Vader's Elite is asking about QB missed blown coverage, or where a wide receiver had no coverage, he's thrown into double coverage. So there are lots of checks within the game that are not just dictated by physical attributes. The intelligence attribute of quarterback specifically makes a big difference on whether they're going to notice if a particular coverage is blown, if somebody is wide open and things like that. So that is definitely something that goes through in the game logic, in the game engine itself. So um, if they pass their intelligence check and somebody's wide open, then they'll hit that guy and you'll get big gains. But again, it depends on them passing that intelligence check, and we didn't want to make it 100% certainty every time, because sometimes QBs are looking at the wrong side of the field, and sometimes they just miss stuff, or there's defenders in their face or whatever. So it's not an automatic gimme, and that's part of the fun of watching the 2D, is having people scream at the screen when the quarterback misses what they can see. So we intentionally make it where the play is not always perfect, and there are always little random events that will affect things that may not be what you want at the point in time.
That's something that I love about the 2D. That was, when we first when I first started looking for a football developer and saw that Brooks had his game. The 2D was what really hooked me, and made me interested in bringing him in the game to Wolverine, because I think it's so important to be able to watch what happens. That there are games that just simulate the games, and the numbers come out okay, but you don't know how they got those numbers. Is the game just generating it based on what the numbers should be? Is anything you're doing actually having an impact in the game? Those are questions, to me, they're very important, that they need to be proven. That the game needs to prove out what's going on. And so I think, having the 2D display in all of our games lets you not only have, something to manage, if you want to actually coach the game out, and that sort of thing. If you're not just a sim guy, if you want to, sim it out, see the game as it plays out. But it also, proves that, there's, things that you're doing make a difference in the games. The coaching decisions you're choosing, the roster decisions that you're making, those things are important, and they actually have an impact in the game. And it's not just, the engine just spits out some numbers and it's good to go. So I think that having the 2D display, I think that really takes our games to, an extra level that, other sim games, there are some that have, great displays, and there are some that have none. So I think that having the opportunity to, to play the games out, watch them out in 2D mode, is really a core feature of our games, and something that, along with the draft, that we really try to focus on as being, staples and hallmarks, in our game.
Yeah, I completely agree. The 2D view is, for those that aren't aware, is not something that we generate after the fact based on what we thought the play did. It's the actual code running through all of the X and Y coordinates of all of the players on the field. So think about the old timey electric football vibrating tables, where you set everybody up and then you press the power on, and if you set some dude to run backwards, he'd run backwards, right? They don't know, they just go where they're told to go. And this game is basically a digital representation of that. The players actually move, the speed matters, which is why speed is such a key attribute. A lot of the other attributes affect our checks, and whether they recognize different things, but it's all there. It's all meant to actually show where the player is deciding to run on the field. And it's not perfect, but it's unique, and it's our thing. And I really, my favorite part about it is what Vader brought up a minute ago, that if you mess up your coverage and you pick the absolute wrong coverage for a particular formation, and you leave a receiver wide open, a quarterback hits him, and he happens to be a fast wide receiver, well, it's an automatic touchdown, right? It's just the way the game is set up, where if you can't catch a guy because he happens to be fast, then so be it. And it's up to the player to figure out how to best rotate their defenses and and keep the right rosters on the field at all times. And the 2D display, really shows all of the different effects of that. And it makes it a lot more difficult for us because we have to make sure that we have enough formations and plays and all those different varieties in there so that it still generates realistic pro football results and college football results. But we're proud of it, and it's been a lot of fun to work on, and we like the direction it's in, and we will continue to do it this way.
Yep, and I'm just from what I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis with the game working, on my sections of it. I can't tell you how far the game has come since not only since we first started with it, but even from the last version. I mean, this is going to be the football sim that you want. We've read a lot of people. I've always wished for a football sim that had a little bit better graphics, a little bit more of this. This has got it. I mean, this is the football sim that that we have been working to deliver year after year, and it just gets better every single year. So we've very quickly again hit our 30 minutes for our stream here. So we're going to start wrapping things up here tonight. Again, if you want to get in on the contest, the drawings for a free game from our 2020 lineup, or if you want Drafty Sports Pro Golf, all you have to do is follow us. Follow us here on Twitch. Follow us, have those notifications enabled so that you know when we go live. We've been going every Friday night for football, every Tuesday night for basketball. So if you are a follower, you are automatically in the drawing. We'll do that drawing next Tuesday. So you've got, if you're watching this after the fact, you've got all weekend to hit that follow button. If you're a subscriber, again, you can subscribe for free if you've got Amazon Prime. Just hook it up to Twitch Prime, get your free 1-month sub, and sub to our channel, and you'll be in a very limited pool of entrants there for that free game. We don't have a lot of subscribers to this channel yet, but we're building that, and we thank the ones that we do have for your support, as it really means something to us. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Thank you, Brooks, as always, for donating a half hour of your weekly time that we're pulling them away from coding just to do this. But it's so worth it to connect with our community and to talk with the people who are really going to be the diehards for this game and find out what you're looking for. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for another great stream. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week with our contest winners. I hope to see you Tuesday for our basketball Dynasty report here on Twitch, and if not, we'll see you next Friday. Thanks, and have a great weekend, everybody.